Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Command, her weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as she watched Earth rotate slowly below. 20 years of human expansion into the stars had been peaceful, perhaps too peaceful. The galactic hegemony had welcomed humanity with what appeared to be open arms, though their smiles never quite reached their eyes. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled through her neural implant. "The hegemony diplomatic vessel is requesting immediate docking clearance. They're saying it's urgent." Chen closed her eyes briefly. The hegemony never did anything urgently. Their species lived for centuries and treated everything with calculated precision. An urgent meeting could only mean one thing: trouble. "Grant them clearance," she replied, straightening her uniform. "Have security protocol Delta in place." Quietly. The hegemony ship was beautiful in that alien way that always made humans feel slightly primitive, all sweeping curves and impossibly thin spires that seemed to defy physics. As it docked with the lunar station, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Ambassador Kethrol emerged from the ship alone. Another break from protocol. The tall, crystalline being's usual iridescent glow was muted, almost gray. "Admiral Chen," it said, its translator converting the harmonic tones into English, "I come with grave news." Chen felt her muscles tense. "Please, Ambassador, my office." The walk to her office was silent, broken only by the soft crystalline chiming that accompanied all Kethrol's movements. Once inside, the ambassador didn't sit. Another bad sign. The Hegemony Council has concluded its century-long evaluation of humanity. Kethrol began without preamble. "You have been classified as an unstable species, Grade 3. Under Galactic Law Section 47 Beta, all human expansion must cease immediately. Existing colonies must be evacuated within one standard solar cycle." Chen felt the blood drain from her face. "On what grounds?" "Your species develops too quickly, adapts too readily, and shows concerning signs of military innovation despite peaceful overtures. The Council fears." The station's alert system screamed to life, cutting Kethrol off. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice was tight with panic. "Admiral, multiple hegemony warships just emerged from FTL. They're attacking our colonies. Proxima Centauri Station it's gone, Mom. Just gone." Chen's eyes locked with Kethrol's crystalline facets. The ambassador's glow dimmed further. "You knew," Chen whispered. "This wasn't a diplomatic notice. It was a distraction." "It was deemed necessary," Kethrol replied softly. "Your species would have resisted otherwise. This way, fewer lives will be lost." The next few hours were chaos. The hegemony's attack was precise, methodical, and overwhelming. Human colonies fell one by one. The fledgling Earth Defense Force, designed more for show than war, was swatted aside like insects. By the time the dust settled, humanity had lost everything beyond the solar system. But in their methodical efficiency, the hegemony made three crucial mistakes. First, they assumed humanity's apparent technological inferiority was complete, not understanding that humans had kept certain advances hidden. Advances born of centuries of terrestrial warfare. Second, they believed that destroying human colonies would break their spirit. Instead, it united humanity in a way nothing else could have. But their third mistake was the greatest. They left Earth itself intact, believing that containing humanity to their home system would be sufficient. In the aftermath, the galactic hegemony sent their terms. Earth would remain under quarantine, permitted to exist, but never to leave their solar system again. They expected submission, acceptance, perhaps even gratitude for their mercy. What they got instead was silence. In her office, Admiral Chen stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's remaining military and scientific communities. The holographic displays showed the full extent of their losses, and more importantly, what they had managed to keep hidden. "They think they know us," Chen said, her voice steady despite the grief and rage burning in her chest. They think they understand human nature because they've studied our official histories, our public faces, but they don't know about Project Phoenix. The assembled leaders straightened. Project Phoenix had been humanity's insurance policy, a secret program spread across bunkers deep within Mercury's core, hidden from prying eyes by the planet's electromagnetic interference. While the hegemony watched Earth's public space program, they never noticed the quantum research labs, the dark matter facilities, the artificial intelligence developments that went far beyond what humanity claimed to be capable of. They expect us to be primitive. Chen continued, calling up new displays showing designs that would have made the hegemony's military leaders lose sleep. They expect us to be predictable, to either submit or to rage ineffectively against their superiority. Instead, we're going to show them humanity's greatest talent, adaptation. The displays showed ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, vessels that incorporated principles of warfare dating back to Earth's ancient histories, but executed with technologies the hegemony couldn't imagine humanity possessing. Stealth systems based on quantum mechanics, weapons that didn't just destroy but reshaped space itself. The hegemony thinks this is the end of humanity's story, Chen said, her voice hard. But they forgot something fundamental about humans. We have long memories, especially for those who harm us. And we are very, very good at learning from our enemies. She turned to face the viewport, Earth hanging beautiful and vulnerable in the black. They wanted to contain us. Fine. Let them think they've succeeded. Let them think we're cowed and broken. But in the darkness of our solar system, we're going to build something they can't imagine. Something they won't see coming until it's too late. And then, asked one of the assembled generals. Chen's reflection smiled grimly in the glass. And then we're going to teach the galaxy why every human child learns about the Trojan horse, why we still study the art of guerrilla warfare, why our history is full of smaller powers defeating larger ones through innovation and adaptation. They think they've seen humanity at our most dangerous. They haven't even seen us start to fight back. The meeting ended with a new project designation, Operation Nemesis. As the leaders filed out to begin their work, Chen remained at the viewport, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was celebrating their victory, believing they had contained a potential threat to galactic stability. They didn't realize they had just created exactly what they feared most, a humanity united in purpose, driven by righteous anger, and most dangerous of all, forced to innovate not for peace, but for survival. The real war hadn't even started yet. 5 years passed like a held breath. Deep within Mercury's Calorus Basin, Dr. Maya Patel watched as quantum fields danced across her laboratory's containment chamber. The experiment she was conducting would have been impossible on Earth. Too many watching eyes, too many energy signatures to mask. But here, shrouded by Mercury's magnetic storms, humanity's greatest minds worked invisible to the galaxy at large. Test sequence complete, announced the AI assistant, its voice eerily human-like. Quantum displacement field stable at 99.97% efficiency. Maya allowed herself a small smile. What had started as theoretical physics had become the cornerstone of humanity's response to the hegemony. The ability to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Send the data to Admiral Chen, she instructed, already moving to her next station, and begin compilation of Series 7 tests. The laboratory complex stretched for kilometers through Mercury's crust, a maze of research facilities that officially didn't exist. Similar facilities dotted the solar system, hidden in Venus's crushing atmosphere, buried in Mars' polar ice caps, scattered through the asteroid belt, each focusing on different aspects of what had become known as the Phoenix Protocol. In her office at Lunar Command, Admiral Chen reviewed Maya's latest results with growing satisfaction. The quantum displacement technology was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Reports streamed in from other facilities. Metamaterial developments that could bend light and other forms of radiation. artificial intelligence systems that could predict and counter alien battle tactics, weapons that could disrupt the very fabric of space-time. General Santos is requesting permission to begin Phase 3 integration, her AI assistant reported. Chen nodded. Granted. How are our production numbers? Ghost Fleet construction is at 87% of projected capacity. Estimated completion of initial force within 8 months. The Ghost Fleet. Chen still remembered the day that name had first been proposed. Ships that could appear to be in dozens of places at once. Vessels that could strike and vanish before the enemy's sensors could even register their presence. The hegemony's mighty warships would be useless against an enemy they couldn't fix in space and time. But ships were only part of the equation. Humanity had spent these 5 years studying every scrap of data they had on hegemony technology, society, and military doctrine. The aliens' greatest weakness was their own sense of superiority. Their belief that their way of warfare, developed over millennia, was the only way. They hadn't fought a real war in centuries. Their military was designed for parades and intimidation, for crushing obviously inferior forces. They had forgotten, or perhaps never learned, what it meant to fight an enemy who had nothing left to lose. In a secure facility on Mars, General Santos watched as the first full integration test of the Ghost Fleet's combat systems began. The simulated battle displayed on massive holographic screens showed a single human vessel engaging the hegemony battle group. The alien ships moved in their traditional diamond formation, perfect and predictable. The human ships seemed to fragment, quantum echoes appearing across a sphere thousands of kilometers wide. The hegemony formation broke immediately, trying to target the real vessel among the duplicates. Their sensors, designed to detect normal space phenomena, were worse than useless against quantum-shifted targets. The simulation ended with the entire hegemony fleet in chaos, their carefully coordinated formations shattered, their command and control systems overwhelmed by contradictory data. A real battle would have ended with their destruction. "Impressive," said a voice behind him. Santos turned to find Chen watching the replay. "But can we scale it up?" Santos smiled. "That's the beauty of it, Admiral. The larger the engagement, the more effective our tactics become. Their rigid command structure becomes a liability when faced with quantum warfare. They literally can't adapt fast enough." Chen nodded slowly. "And the crews? How are they handling the quantum shifts?" "Better than expected. The neural interfaces Dr. Patel developed allow human consciousness to ride the quantum waves naturally. Our pilots report it feels like becoming a ghost, present everywhere but fully nowhere." In the asteroid belt, automated factories worked tirelessly, converting raw materials into ships that defied conventional physics. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human innovation, compact, lethal, and impossible to detect using standard sensors. The hegemony's watchers, stationed at the edge of the solar system, saw nothing but normal mining operations. They didn't understand that humans had centuries of experience hiding military production in plain sight. Every civilian shipyard officially producing mining vessels was actually creating warships. Every power spike that should have indicated industrial activity was masked by technology derived from humanity's long history of electronic warfare. Deep under the lunar surface, in a chamber few knew existed, Chen met with Earth's unified military command. The holographic displays showed the full scope of Operation Nemesis, not just ships and weapons, but battle plans that combined centuries of human military theory with technologies the hegemony couldn't imagine. "The Ghost Fleet will be ready soon," Chen announced. "But that's just the beginning. The hegemony thinks they understand warfare because they've practiced it the same way for 1,000 years. They're about to learn what happens when you force humanity to truly innovate." The displays showed the next phase: quantum torpedoes that could bypass shields by existing in multiple dimensions, drone swarms that could think and adapt faster than organic commanders, and most devastating of all, weapons that could disrupt the very quantum fields that allowed faster than light travel. "They confined us to our solar system," Chen continued, thinking it would contain us. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed: time and motivation. Every human who died in their attack has been avenged 1,000 times over in the weapons we've created. One of the generals spoke up. The hegemony's fleets still outnumber us significantly. Chen's smile was cold. Numbers mean nothing when you can't trust what you're seeing. They're about to learn that the hard way. As the meeting concluded, Chen remained behind, studying the tactical displays. The hegemony had made a fundamental mistake in their assessment of humanity. They saw humans as primitive because they measured advancement by age. They couldn't understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers, but their ability to take defeat and transform it into the seeds of victory. In her lab on Mercury, Maya Patel watched another successful test of the quantum displacement field. Soon, the ghost fleet would rise from its hidden berths throughout the solar system. The hegemony's watchers would see nothing until it was far too late. The game of pretending to be a defeated, contained species was almost over. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy why. Throughout their history, the most dangerous human was never the obvious threat, but the quiet one, patiently planning their revenge. The attack began with silence. On the hegemony's primary monitoring station at the edge of Sol's system, senior observer Anxithal noticed something odd: a 2-second delay in the quantum resonance readings from their sensor array. By the time he realized what that meant, it was already too late. The ghost fleet didn't so much appear as it seemed to coalesce from the very fabric of space-time itself. One moment, the system was clear except for the usual merchant traffic. The next, over 300 vessels of unknown configuration simply existed, surrounding the monitoring station in a perfect sphere. Anxithal didn't even have time to send a warning. The station's quantum communications array dissolved into its component atoms, the victim of a weapon that operated on principles the hegemony had never even theorized. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out at every hegemony observation post. Humanity's first strike wasn't against military targets. It was against the enemy's eyes and ears. Within 17 minutes, the hegemony was blind to everything happening in Sol space. Admiral Chen watched the operations unfold from the bridge of the TNS Nemesis, humanity's first quantum dreadnought. The massive vessel existed simultaneously in 23 different quantum states, making it appear to sensors as though an entire fleet was present at once. Phase 1 complete, her tactical officer reported. All hegemony observation posts neutralized. No survivors, no transmissions escaped. Chen nodded grimly. Begin Phase 2. Operation Shadowfall is now active. Throughout the solar system, the rest of humanity's hidden fleet emerged from their secret berths. Ships rose from Mercury's burning surface, their quantum fields deflecting the intense heat. Others emerged from Venus's thick atmosphere, their metamaterial hulls finally revealed. From Mars, from the asteroid belt, from Jupiter's moons, humanity's true military power showed itself at last. The Ghost Fleet numbered over 1,000 vessels, each one incorporating technologies that the hegemony had deemed impossible for humanity to achieve. But more important than their technology was their doctrine. These weren't ships designed for traditional space combat. They were built for a new kind of warfare, one that would turn the hegemony's own size and power against them. All fleet elements report ready, announced Chen's command eye. Quantum synchronization at optimal levels. The hegemony's nearest major fleet base is at Proxima Centauri. Chen's eyes narrowed. Where they destroy our first colony. Fitting that it should be our first target. Signal the fleet. Execute Jump Plan Delta. The Ghost Fleet didn't use traditional FTL drives. Instead, they utilized what Dr. Patel had termed quantum tunneling, effectively existing in multiple points of space-time simultaneously until they collapsed into their desired location. It was completely undetectable, utterly silent, and impossibly fast. The hegemony base at Proxima Centauri was one of their proudest achievements, a massive complex of shipyards, weapons platforms, and defensive installations. Its commanders had grown comfortable in their superiority, certain that no force could threaten them. They never saw the Ghost Fleet arrive. The human ships simply materialized throughout their defense grid, already firing. Quantum torpedoes passed through supposedly impenetrable shields as if they weren't there. Drone swarms overwhelmed point defense systems with attacks that seemed to come from everywhere at once. From her command chair, Chen watched the battle unfold. The hegemony ships tried to form their traditional combat formations, but against an enemy that existed in multiple quantum states, such tactics were worse than useless. Their rigid command structure, unable to adapt to an entirely new form of warfare, broke down completely. "Enemy flagship is attempting to coordinate a counterattack," reported her tactical officer. Chen's response was cold. "Show them why that's a mistake." The TNS Nemesis shifted fully into quantum flux, its image multiplying across space until it appeared to be an entire battle fleet bearing down on the hegemony flagship. The alien vessel fired frantically at the phantom ships, its weapons passing harmlessly through quantum echoes, while the real Nemesis approached undetected from an impossible angle. The battle lasted 23 minutes. When it was over, the pride of the hegemony's military lay in ruins. Not a single human ship was lost. "Send the message," Chen ordered. Across every surviving hegemony communications channel, in every language the aliens used, humanity broadcast their response to 5 years of containment. "You thought you could cage us. You thought you could break us. Instead, you forced us to evolve. This is only the beginning. For every human life you took, for every dream you shattered, we will take something from you. You wanted to see humanity's true nature. Watch carefully." In the aftermath of the battle, as her crews secured what remained of the hegemony base, Chen received a priority transmission from Earth Command. The hegemony's response to their defeat had been swift. They were mobilizing their entire military, preparing to crush humanity once and for all. Chen smiled. They still didn't understand. The Ghost Fleet wasn't designed to fight the hegemony on equal terms. It was designed to make such fights impossible. Every tactic the aliens had perfected over centuries was now obsolete. Every advantage they thought they held had been turned against them. "Your orders, Admiral?" her XO asked. Chen's response was simple. "Show them what ghosts can do." The Ghost Fleet vanished again, leaving behind the ruins of the hegemony's proudest military installation. In the coming days, similar attacks would strike throughout alien space, always against military targets, always with the same devastating effectiveness, and always impossible to counter. The hegemony was about to learn that the quiet, patient planning of a vengeful humanity was far more dangerous than any show of brute force. The galaxy was changing, and the species they had tried to cage would be the architects of that change. In her quarters later, Chen reviewed the battle footage. The hegemony ships had fought bravely, but bravery meant nothing against an enemy they couldn't even properly perceive. This was humanity's answer to their attempted containment, not just superior technology, but a completely new paradigm of warfare. The real question wasn't whether humanity would win this war. The question was what kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of the hegemony's shattered pride. The hegemony's Grand War Council convened in their most secure facility, deep within their homeworld's core. The massive crystalline chamber, normally a symbol of their power and unity, now felt like a tomb. Supreme Commander Zarkax, his iridescent scales dulled with stress, addressed the assembled leadership. "In 3 weeks, humanity has destroyed 47 major military installations. Our casualties number in the millions. We cannot even detect their ships until they choose to reveal themselves." The tactical displays showed the extent of the devastation. The Ghost Fleet struck everywhere at once, making defense impossible. Traditional battle formations had proven worse than useless. They simply made it easier for human ships to target multiple vessels simultaneously. Surely they must have some limitation, one council member argued. No species can maintain this level of technological superiority indefinitely. In orbit above a hegemony fortress world, Admiral Chen watched as another alien fleet attempted to adapt to quantum warfare. They had switched to dispersed formations, trying to make it harder for the Ghost Fleet to strike multiple targets. It was an intelligent adaptation and completely useless. "Initiate Operation Hydra," she ordered. The human fleet didn't just split into quantum echoes. Each ship actually divided into multiple autonomous units, smaller craft that retained all the capabilities of their parent vessels. What had appeared to be a fleet of 300 ships suddenly became 3,000, each operating with perfect coordination through their AI networks. The Hegemony fleet didn't stand a chance. Their dispersed formation, intended to protect them, only made it easier for the human swarms to isolate and destroy individual ships. The battle was over in minutes, but humanity wasn't just winning through superior technology. They were winning because they understood something the Hegemony had forgotten: the psychological impact of impossible warfare. Every Hegemony commander now hesitated before engaging human forces. Every alien crew wondered if they were firing at real ships or quantum phantoms. The mighty Hegemony military, undefeated for millennia, was learning to fear the dark between the stars. In a secret meeting chamber on the Hegemony homeworld, Ambassador Cathrall faced his former colleagues. "We made a fundamental error in our assessment of humanity," he said, his crystalline form vibrating with emotion. "We judged them by their age rather than their potential. We saw their adaptability as a weakness rather than their greatest strength." "What would you have us do?" demanded one of the council members. "Surrender to these upstarts." "I would have us survive," Cathrall replied quietly. "Look at their pattern of attacks. They strike military targets only. They disable rather than destroy when possible. They're not seeking our extinction. They're forcing us to acknowledge them as equals." Meanwhile, the Ghost Fleet continued its campaign of systematic destruction. Humanity had spent 5 years studying every aspect of Hegemony society, identifying critical weaknesses in their military infrastructure. Each strike was precisely calculated to cause maximum strategic damage with minimal civilian casualties. On the bridge of the TNS Nemesis, Chen received a priority communication from Earth Command. The Hegemony had requested a ceasefire. "They're trying to buy time," her XO suggested, "to analyze our technology to find a counter." Chen shook her head. "No. They're beginning to understand. Show me the terms they're offering." The terms were interesting. Not a demand for humanity's surrender, but a genuine attempt at negotiation. The Hegemony was offering to recognize Earth's independence, to acknowledge humanity's right to expansion. "They still don't quite get it," Chen mused. "They think this is about territory, about recognition." Response: negative. Transmit Operation Revelation parameters. Operation Revelation was humanity's master stroke, not a military operation, but an information warfare campaign. The Ghost Fleet began broadcasting proof that the Hegemony's technological superiority was largely an illusion, maintained through political manipulation and the suppression of younger species. Across Hegemony space, colony worlds began receiving data packets showing them how to replicate human innovations, how to break free from technological dependence on the central authority. The Hegemony's carefully maintained hierarchy began to crumble. "This is the true power of humanity," Chen explained to her command staff. "Not our ships, not our weapons, but our willingness to share knowledge, to help others rise. The Hegemony built an empire on keeping others down. We'll build something better by lifting them up." The Hegemony's response was predictable. They launched their entire remaining fleet in a desperate bid to crush humanity once and for all. 10,000 ships, the combined might of a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Chen's response was 2 words: mirror protocol. The Ghost Fleet didn't just engage the Hegemony Armada. They surrounded it in a quantum field that cut off their FTL capability, trapping them in normal space. Then, using technology derived from Dr. Patel's latest breakthrough, they forced the alien ships to witness thousands of possible futures simultaneously. Each Hegemony commander saw visions of their civilization's possible paths, continued war leading to extinction, acceptance of change leading to renaissance. It wasn't mind control or illusion. It was simply the truth, presented in a way their quantum-altered consciousness couldn't deny. The mighty Armada hung motionless in space as their commanders faced reality. Humanity hadn't just revolutionized warfare, they had fundamentally changed the rules of civilization itself. In her quarters that night, Chen reviewed the latest reports. The hegemony's member worlds were declaring independence. Younger species were rising up, demanding the right to develop their own technology. The carefully maintained order of millennia was transforming into something new. "Was this your plan all along?" her AI assistant asked. Chen smiled. Humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology. It was our memory of being the underdog, our understanding of how empires fall, and our knowledge of how to build something better from the ashes. The war wasn't over, but its outcome was now certain. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would help guide that change, not through conquest or suppression, but through the sharing of knowledge and the promotion of innovation. The hegemony had tried to cage humanity. Instead, they had freed the galaxy. 1 year after the hegemony's great armada stood down, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The crystalline spires of the former hegemony capital world now hosted representatives from hundreds of species, not as supplicants, but as equals. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Galactic Council, stood before the assembled delegates. The chamber, once reserved for the hegemony's ruling council, now symbolized something very different. A gathering of equals, each species free to develop according to their own path. The old order died not because we destroyed it, Chen addressed the assembly, but because we showed a better way. The hegemony's greatest fear was that humanity would destabilize the galaxy. They were right, but not in the way they imagined. The quantum displays around the chamber showed the transformation. Worlds that had been technologically dependent on the hegemony were now developing their own innovations. Species that had been deemed too primitive for advanced technology were making breakthroughs that surprised even humanity. In her private laboratory on Mercury, now an open research facility welcoming scientists from across the galaxy, Dr. Maya Patel worked alongside beings her younger self could never have imagined. The quantum technology that had won the war was being adapted for peaceful purposes, revolutionizing transportation, communication, and exploration. The real revolution, she explained to a group of alien researchers, wasn't in the technology itself. It was in proving that no species has a monopoly on innovation. The hegemony's greatest mistake was believing that age equals wisdom. The Ghost Fleet, once humanity's instrument of vengeance, had been transformed. The quantum ships now served as the backbone of a new emergency response force, helping worlds struck by natural disasters or threatened by the few remaining remnants of the old order who refused to accept change. But humanity's most profound impact wasn't military or technological, it was philosophical. The idea that younger species could innovate, that different approaches to science and civilization were valid, spread like wildfire through the galaxy. "We didn't defeat the hegemony just with superior weapons," Chen continued her address. "We defeated them by offering hope to those they had suppressed, by showing that cooperation and shared innovation create more power than hoarding knowledge ever could." Former Ambassador Cathral, now leading his people's transition to the new order, approached Chen after the session. His crystalline form glowed with colors that would have been deemed inappropriately emotional in the old regime. "You know," he said, "when we first encountered humanity, we saw your rapid adaptation as a threat to stability. We never considered that stability itself might be the real threat, that change and growth are necessary for true civilization." Chen nodded. "The hardest lesson for any powerful civilization to learn is that holding others down eventually holds everyone back. The hegemony spent millennia trying to prevent change. All they really prevented was progress. The new Galactic Council operated on principles that would have been unthinkable under the old regime. Each species was free to develop their own technology, to form their own alliances, to choose their own path. The only absolute rules were those preventing the suppression of other species' development. In orbit above Earth, the TNS Nemesis, once the flagship of humanity's revenge, had been converted into a mobile research station. Its quantum fields, once used to confuse and terrify enemy forces, now allowed scientists to study phenomena that had been deemed impossible under the hegemony's rigid scientific doctrine. The greatest weapon humanity brought to the galaxy, Chen told her fellow council members, wasn't our technology or our military tactics. It was our experience with being the underdog, our understanding that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. The former hegemony species, freed from the burden of maintaining artificial superiority, were discovering their own capacity for innovation. Their ancient civilization, once calcified by tradition and hierarchy, was experiencing a renaissance of creativity and discovery. But perhaps the most profound change was in how species viewed each other. The concept of primitive or advanced races had been replaced by an understanding that different approaches to technology and civilization could all contribute to the greater whole. In her quarters that evening, Chen reviewed reports from across the galaxy. New discoveries, new alliances, new ways of thinking about old problems. The chaos that the hegemony had feared had indeed come to pass, but it was the chaos of growth, of innovation, of positive change. Was this what you planned all along? Her AI assistant asked. Not just defeating the hegemony, but transforming the galaxy. Chen smiled. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our military power. It's our memory of every empire that tried to rule through suppression, and our understanding that true civilization can only thrive through freedom and cooperation. The galaxy was different now. The rigid hierarchy that had lasted for millennia had been replaced by something more chaotic, more challenging, but ultimately more alive. Species that had been enemies under the old regime were now partners in exploration and discovery. Humanity had done more than win a war. They had shown the galaxy a new way forward, not through dominance or suppression, but through the sharing of knowledge, the celebration of diversity, and the understanding that true power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them grow. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, as if reflecting the renewed hope of countless civilizations, finally free to reach for them in their own way. The hegemony had feared that humanity would destroy their order. Instead, humanity had helped the galaxy build something far greater in its place, and that perhaps was the greatest victory of all.